Evening, everybody. Scott Brown here. Welcome to night number 3 of 365 live videos, the goal for this year. So I already went and did this live on Instagram, and my thought was if I do it on Instagram, I can then post it to Facebook, only to realize that if you do a live video on Instagram, it doesn't save anywhere. So in order to make sure that I can get this out to the masses, so that I can get more feedback from it, a few more views from it, I'm going to re-record this again, put this time on Facebook Live, and then link it back to Instagram and see if that works a little bit better. So tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit more about this whole concept of what if. I introduced it last night slightly, but I really want to get into a little bit more about why I believe the concept of asking what if is a foundational skill that all leaders need to possess. When you ask what if, it does a couple of things. One, it forces you to stop being so certain about the way the world works and to start to be a little bit more curious about what could possibly be. Second, it allows your mind to both wonder and wander. It allows you to wander away into a path where maybe you weren't even sure that you would go, but you never know what connections you're going to make down the road. And third, it opens up so many new possibilities. Not just possibilities in what can happen, but possibilities in relationships, possibilities in communication. It allows you to have an open dialogue with somebody, to ask them, what if, and then to listen, actively listen to what they have to say. One of the foundations of effective leadership is communication. I really believe that communication is the currency of leadership, and what if is the engine that can drive that currency. So that's why I think what if is such a powerful tool. But it's also powerful because of some personal experiences. For instance, a lot of you know that I grew up in the retail world. I was a store manager for a long time, was an HR manager for a long time. I was in stores forever. I was in the retail world for over 20 years. But way back at the beginning, back in the early 90s, back in I think 1994, I was a brand new manager at Lazarus department stores. And I remember going to work one day, and I was watching the Today Show, and there was a segment that was on there with Katie Couric and whatever Gumball was on there. I think Greg Gumball at the time that was on there. And they started bantering back and forth about how to get out of this one segment. And the problem was they had to read an email address, and neither of them had any idea how to read it. And I forget what the actual email address was, but it had the @ in it, of course, and they had no idea what that meant. They were like, is it around or about or at? Or they had no idea what it was. And then all of a sudden, Katie Couric looked off camera and said, "Allison, what is the internet?" And this voice from nowhere said, "It's this really big computer network and it's getting really popular." I had no more idea than what the internet was than what those two fools did. And it made me think, what else is out there that I don't know? What does this really mean? At the time, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. So if I don't know how to turn on a computer, I certainly didn't know what the internet was. This was 1994, probably a little bit late to the game. A year later, AOL finally showed up in Pittsburgh. And when they did, they started running those first ads. The first ad that I remember seeing for AOL, there was a guy walking through the door into his buddy's apartment. His buddy's sitting behind his computer, behind a desk, and he's holding tickets. And he's like, "Hey man, I'm sorry, I can't go to the game tonight." And his friend's like, "Well, why?" And he's like, "Well, I have to order flowers for my wife. I have to book plane tickets to go on vacation. My kid needs to look up something about dinosaurs. I just can't get it done tonight." And his buddy's like, "Well, what do you mean? We can take care of all of that right here if I just go to this AOL Marketplace." And they walked through what the AOL Marketplace was and how you could book flowers and plane tickets and research information on dinosaurs. And I was blown away by what this was. I was completely blown away by the whole idea of being able to shop online. I thought that was a game changer. So the next day, after I saw that commercial, I remember going into work and asking my boss at the time. I worked for a guy named Richard. His name was Richard Noggins. And I said, "Mr. Noggins, I have a question for you. I saw a commercial that I don't know what it means, but I'm hoping you can answer a little bit." And I explained to him the whole internet shopping in the marketplace. And I said, "What does that mean for retail? Are people going to stop shopping with us?" And I remember so clearly, he had these little beady glasses and he kind of pulled them down and looked over the top of his glasses. And he said, "Nobody will ever stop shopping in retail." And he was so certain that the internet meant nothing. And he was so wrong that the internet meant nothing. Clearly, all we do now is shop online. I can't imagine what these last 7 months would have been like if we couldn't have shopped online. But what would have happened had retailers in the mid-90s asked, what if? What if they would have been open to the whole concept of, oh, maybe people are shopping online now. Maybe that's something we need to get behind and work with instead of to fight. Maybe that's something that we need to think there's another way out there. When we ask the question, what if? What we're really doing is opening up to the possibility that maybe we don't have all of the answers. What if allows us to understand that we don't even have all of the questions. Retail today, we know, has gone through drastic changes. The retail apocalypse continues to drag on, and it shows no end in sight. Shopping today is littered with memories of closed stores, with the remnants of broken down malls and empty strip centers. It is completely different from what it was 25 years ago. What if they had asked, what if? What would that have done? How would that have changed the future? I've always been a fan of asking that question, what if? And just trying to put that out there to see what could possibly happen. I want to know what other people know. I want to be able to experience and to investigate and to find new information. And I think that is the key. That is one of the key components to what leadership is about. It is about not being so certain, but always being curious and having the courage to ask, what if? Even if you don't know the answer to the question, but being willing to fail forward in the pursuit of what might be. So I'm going to ask you this. What has been your greatest what if experience? Put it in the comments. I'm really interested to know, where have you asked what if and what have you learned from it? I'm interested to how this has worked for you. So until tomorrow, I think what if is what we're going to leave you with tonight. And the other question I'm going to leave you all with is, how do you record a video on Instagram Live? Because I clearly don't know how to do it, but I'm curious about what that might look like. So until tomorrow, my friends, I wish you all a wonderful night tonight, and keep asking, what if?